Hey guys, welcome back to channel. Maverick here, and we continue on with our watch of Sangatsu. So, before we begin this episode though, I'd like to quickly mention something that was told to me in a comment last episode. I believe Araki-senpai pointed this out to me and said that in the last episode, when Akari was mentioning the relationship between Rei and Kyoko, it was actually in more of a their the way that I interpreted it was that even though they seem to be siblings, they don't really have a good relationship with each other, and so because of these kind of family problems, that's what prompted Ray to leave the house. However, he pointed out that what she was actually saying there was actually it should be interpreted more as because they have something that's other than just sibling love, right? So I'm talking about like the kind of relationship between a guy and a gal, right? A boy girl kind of dynamic, I guess you could say, between them. I didn't really want to completely go there because it's still kind of hard for me to correctly pinpoint what these two's relationship is, especially considering that I've already been burned a little bit by the initial depiction of them from the very beginning. So I don't want to just go out and make some assumptions. Right now, I did mention, I believe, way back, when Kyoko first came onto the scene, that I thought she had a little bit something more towards Rei, considering that she still, badgers him and takes notice of his matches and whatnot. But I wasn't really quite sure if it was the feeling was reciprocated by Rei. So apparently it is in a certain way. But okay, that's an interesting thing and probably something to take note of going forward. So anyways, let's get into the episode right now and see what happens. Alright, as usual, skip the opening, and let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. Chapter 39, eh? So about 2 chapters per episode. It's Tohoku. Why not go skiing or snowboarding? And if I lived in Japan, I would go snowboarding all the time. Second grade, eh? It's like what, 7? 8? So he's also a sort of prodigy. Huh. Country kid making it big in the city. okay. He wasn't able to get promoted to be a professional. Yeah, even without being a master, I think just being accepted into the association as a professional shogi player should already be a proof of your abilities. It's actually really hard for me. I mentioned this last episode as well in regards to the differences between a professional association like Shogi, or indeed even Go in Japan, which also uses a professional association, versus something like chess, which I'm more familiar with, which doesn't have this kind of formal association, formal ranks and whatnot. Right? Because for them, for Shogi, you're only ranked once you get into the professional association. So, mm, yep. uh, on the point I was mentioning, in a sense, you could consider that all the professionals here within the association could be, I guess, alluded to as grandmasters equivalent in the chess world. So that in itself is very hard for me to wrap my head around. I think the reason for your stomach troubles is because you're not getting good sleep. Yeah, not enough sleep. I've been there before. Whenever I pull some, I wouldn't say all-nighters, but for instance, if I want to stay up, I don't know, do some other stuff, maybe sleep only 4 hours during that day. Once I get up, man, my stomach is completely wrecked. Well, I mean, beyond obvious superficial appearances. Yeah, they are similar. Also, fragile looking. Hmm. Could he have stomach ulcers? Most of the time it has something to do with your lifestyle. Unless it was actually long-term illness. Hmm. I mean, considering the amount of Beijing and the amount of cities that there are, it's definitely not. I'd say even getting someone into the association is a pretty big honor in itself. Shinkansen to Kyoto. I've been to Kyoto, actually only once before. It's an interesting city. I'll give it that. Stomach. I mean, if it's gonna get him to maybe take care of himself, might not be a bad idea. Similar to how somebody needs to give Ray a wake-up call. You take care of yourself, your play will improve as well. If you're in Kyoto for the first time, oh my god. Oh, he lives in Kyoto. That's a temple. Yeah, take a look at the sites. Oh, he has been here before. Alright. Alright, who is he gonna meet here? No one? Oh. Oh, he said he'll take care of it? Good sportsmanship. Oh wait, they're the same age? Really? Oh, it's Smith. Haven't seen him in a while. Oh, he brought his cat here? Wait, huh? Oh, never mind. That was Ray. Oh, some kid on night flight, nightlife. Oh, never mind. I wonder who's taking care of his cat. Someone he knows, actually? Hmm. I do find it quite interesting how, for, I could say the latter half of this series so far, Ray has basically been an observer to everything around him. Hmm. Okay, see you guys in a while. Alrighty, so we continue with our observation status with Ray, which I have a sneaking suspicion is going to happen in the next episode as well. I don't know, I feel like what they're trying to do here is allow Ray to maybe grow a little bit, in terms of what it actually means to be a pro, your life choices, how you approach your game, how you approach, well, in essence, your job, so on and so forth, right? Because he doesn't really have that good of a mentor figure in his life. So yeah, I think that's basically it. And what's going to happen from this is Ray's probably going to come out of it stronger, more well-rounded, both in terms of his game as well as him as a person, right? So it'll be interesting to see by the end of this particular arc, and indeed maybe a little bit more, how he has changed as a person and how he's changed in his attitude towards the game of Shogi, right? In terms of actually whether or not Shimada is going to win here, I don't know. It's an interesting question, isn't it? And how, like, what was going to impact Ray in terms of both Shimada winning and Shimada losing? I feel like there's different lessons to be taken from each, and you can have different interpretations depending on which way you look at it, right? So I don't know. It definitely, and I can't really get a pulse on it right now, whether or not it would be more beneficial for him to learn if Shimada loses or if Shimada wins, right? I don't know. It's still quite unclear what the main message, because like I said, you can, even taking Ray aside, if we were to look at it, we can look at it in two different ways, right? For instance, we can see here clearly that Shimada lives and breathes Shogi. That's all he really cares about. at the cost of his health, etc., etc. And one thing that's driving him on is the support of his, the association at home, the old men from his village, as he was saying, and so on and so forth, right? So if he wins, then what we can take away from this is, yeah, to really win, you got to eat it, you got to breathe it, you got to live it, and it wouldn't hurt to have some support as well, right? Now, on the other side, if he actually loses, you can also look at a way such as, hey, he's not really taking proper care of himself. He's neglecting the biggest asset in terms of actually being to play the game of Shogi, and that is you yourself. You got to be in a healthy state of body and mind, so on and so forth. So, you can go either way here with this. And not to mention that this series so far has, the parts where we think someone is gonna win, they don't, right? Although saying that, Shimada did manage to beat Gota to reach this place, so who knows? It can still go either way. And speaking of the country boy thing, it's actually kind of funny to me because now that I know where he's from, I'm actually going there, well, not there exactly, but near there next week. Or rather, when you guys see this, it's probably this week. I'm actually going to Japan on a snowboarding trip yet again, and I'll be. I'm not gonna go into the specifics, but it's near Sendai, and Yamagata Prefecture is also near Sendai as well. It's right to the left of it, right to the west of it. So, quite interesting. I'll be heading right into that country. Sorry, not that country, that particular area of Japan. And yeah, he's right. That place does only have lots of well, it is more famous for being a agricultural kind of area. It's not really a very well populated place. And well, the funny thing is, since I'm nosy as usual, I actually did use the Shogi database I was talking about last episode to check just how many people have become pro out of Yamagata, and so far I can only see 2. Not from the exact city that Shimada comes from, but then again, he doesn't really come from that city. He comes from like some small village, right? So I would say that even just being able to turn pro is a big enough achievement in of itself, particularly for the village or whatever that he comes from, right? I don't have experience with this. I've always lived in cities. My dad, however, was originally he was a son of a farmer, basically, and they did indeed live in a small village. So I'm not really familiar with this concept of the weights and burdens of the village people, but my dad actually did, because most villagers, they toil, they're working class, right? And my dad was actually one of the first in his village to actually be able to get a good education and go on to university, so on and so forth. So I did. When you come from a village such as that, indeed you are sort of regarded as a celebrity within the village, and so I can totally see where Shimada is coming from based on that. Is it something? But then, like I said, I still don't know whether or not they are actually going to make it all sunshine, or are we going to be set up for disappointment yet again, right? I mean, the most cheesy thing to do would obviously to allow him to actually play in his hometown, but then eventually still lose in the final battle to Soya, right? And I think that would be fine. It would be kind of cheesy and predictable in terms of normal anime developments, but hey, sometimes you just want to let the good things happen. Beyond that, one other interesting thing from this episode, which I did not know before, is the concept of a sealed move, right? We see in the middle of the episode here, they had a sealed move envelope. So I was actually wondering, like, what the hell is that? So apparently, because Go and Shogi are so, they're so complex, and a normal game would go on for many, many hours. Like, something like 6-8 hours is usually the norm for, especially these title matches. So they actually, in order to allow the players to play on the next day, they will have something called a sealed move. And so that's basically when it's your turn to move. You need to write down. You need to put down in writing what you are going to move, but you don't actually make the move. So your opponent doesn't know what move you're going to make. So he doesn't have the advantage of spending the entire night thinking how to counter that move. And so on and so forth, right? And at least that's what the concept is anyways. And because you've already set your move in stone as well, you can't also spend the night preparing for your next move, right? That would be unfair to the other player. So that's why sealed moves exist. And particularly, that has long been abolished in chess now, which I'm more familiar with, mainly because in chess, with chess engines being as strong as they are nowadays, any kind of move, you could do tons and tons of evaluations in just a single night, and that would be unfair. So in most chess tournaments nowadays, you basically just play out every match till the end. You don't have I believe it's called adjournment. I believe that was a particular specific term that they use, which is we agree to adjourn this game for now and come back the following day, right? And honestly, I believe Shogi will probably go that route very, very soon, because nowadays, with Alpha Mind and all that, sorry, not Alpha Mind, Alpha Zero and all that, with these really high-tech, deep learning chess engines or shogi engines, I think shogi is also more or less completely dominated by computers now, even though it's Japan, so they have a more closed society. It's not as clear-cut as that, but as far as I can see, their game, just like chess, has already been basically the computers have a dominant advantage already. So probably, I don't know how they're going to change it, because shogi itself is this complex, right? So how exactly are they going to cut down on the time? It's hard to say, but think about it. Any player could just simply, once they turn in for a night or whatnot, simply run a chess engine and see, or sorry, a shogi engine, and see what are the best following moves, yada yada yada. Don't know. Well, that's something for the Japanese Shogi Association to fret over, not my job. But anyways, that's it for this episode. Like I said, I am actually going to be on vacation this week, so I will be uploading another one this week, just as a sort of sit-in for my normal schedule. So do look forward to that as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.